The Financial Services Board is introducing a new regulatory approach to protect financial services customers called Treating Customers Fairly, or TCF for short. Now, TCF will require regulated firms to demonstrate that they're consistently delivering a set of clearly spelled out fair outcomes for their customers and consumers. Now, to do this, they'll need to consider the treatment of customers at all stages of their relationships. We're talking from product design and marketing through to advice, point of sale, and after-sales stages. We now welcome Leanne Jackson from the Financial Services Board. Leanne is the head of the FSB's Treating Customers Fairly unit. Thank you, Leanne, for joining us. But now, why is the FSB deciding to introduce TCF? Is it not a given that financial firms should treat their customers fairly? Why do we need special laws to make this happen?
Yes, of course, you're absolutely correct. I mean, certainly firms should be treating their customers fairly already. But the challenge with financial services is buying an insurance policy or investing in a pension is not the same thing as buying a cell phone or a car. You can't touch the financial product, you can't see it and judge whether it's right for you. So the risk of incorrect decisions or inappropriate advice is much greater for financial services. So for that reason, we felt that we need a specific dedicated piece of legislation aimed at the financial services sector, and that in effect will hold financial services firms to higher standards of responsibility than your ordinary consumer goods. And we think the Treating Customers Fairly framework will be the kind of holistic and consistent approach that can pull together the current pieces of consumer protection legislation in the sector into a holistic framework.
Different people may have different opinions of what is fair. Is FSB going to define fairness?
Clearly, fairness can be quite a subjective concept. I think we all have a natural sense of knowing when we've been unfairly treated, but if we were asked to define fairness, we would all have different ways of doing that. So the FSB has actually decided against coming up with a consistent definition of fairness. And instead, what the TCF framework does is it lists 6 specific results that we want customers to experience, or 6 outcomes, as we call it, and those will be used as the test of fairness. May I run through what the 6 outcomes are quickly? All right. Outcome number 1 is that financial customers must have confidence that the firms they're dealing with do place fair treatment at the center of their cultures. Number 2 is ensuring that the kinds of products and services that are designed for retail financial customers are appropriately targeted to that particular customer grouping. So not a kind of one-size-fits-all approach to financial products. The third outcome is to say that the information that is provided to customers must be fair and appropriate information, and it must be clear and understandable for the particular target audience, or the target market. Fourthly is to ensure that where advice is provided on a product, that advice is appropriate to your needs. And the 5th TCF outcome, number 5, is about expectations. It's about what people sometimes jokingly refer to, does the product do what it says on the tin? So in essence, where a firm has created expectations about those products, is it ensuring that the product will indeed deliver on the expectations that were created? And then last but not least, outcome number 6 is about not having to face unreasonable barriers towards the end stage of the product. So when you want to submit a claim or lodge a complaint or make changes to your product, you as a customer should not be having to face obstacles.
How is FSB going to monitor if firms are delivering on these outcomes for their customers and they're not just saying so?
Well, that, of course, is exactly the point, is to understand that the fact that we're asking them to deliver on outcomes doesn't mean we're simply going to take their word for it that they have done so. So the TCF framework will be underpinned by a set of requirements that firms have to demonstrate the delivery of these outcomes. So it will include reporting, particular reporting structures. They will need to be able to demonstrate how they've allocated responsibility across their management structures, how it filters down all the way from the board right down within the different layers of the organization, how their remuneration models, for example, are rewarding the delivery of the right outcomes. We're also going to expect firms to have built TCF risks into their risk management frameworks and their governance structures. So this is certainly not going to be a case of let's put nice posters up on the walls to say that we place customers at the center of our thinking and hope that will suffice. There will be specific monitoring. And also very importantly, where we Where firms are unable to provide us with any evidence that they are delivering these outcomes, or where we pick up that there's material failure in delivering these outcomes, there will be enforcement consequences and sanctions will be imposed.
Which financial firms are subject to these new laws, and when do they kick in?
Everybody that the Financial Services Board regulates. So that spans all the way across long-term and short-term insurers. It includes investment institutions, private pension funds, and financial advisors. Also, at the moment, the FSB does not regulate the banking sector except in a limited way. We regulate advice provided by banks, but we don't regulate banking transactional activity. But the Minister of Finance has announced some time ago that we'll be moving towards a new model where the conduct of banks will fall under the FSB. So when that comes into effect, the banking sector will also be subject to the TCF. We're targeting during the course of 2014 to formally introduce TCF into legislation. However, it's important to remember that much of our existing rules and regulations already support the delivery of these outcomes. So there's a lot we can already do within the existing regulatory framework. And the message to firms, I guess, is to say there is no reason why you should not already be embedding TCF, and our existing expectations are already around fair treatment.
In light of that, what should customers do if they believe that they've been unfairly treated by a financial services company or a financial advisor?
The very first port of call would be the firm itself. So you should always first directly approach the entity that you feel has treated you unfairly, because they are expected to have complaints handling mechanisms and structures. If that doesn't work and you don't feel the situation has been resolved to your satisfaction, the different parts of the financial services sector have different ombud schemes, and it's important to find out who the ombud scheme is for your sector and the type of product and contact them. Where we hope TCF will help in the complaints handling process is that we think it provides a useful language for customers to use in raising their complaints. So if you think about those 6 outcomes that I mentioned earlier, as a customer, we would suggest that you formulate your complaint not in general terms by saying, I think this has been unfair, but think about those outcomes. So the first outcome, or the second outcome, for example, which says that products must be appropriately designed. If you feel that hasn't happened, form your complaint by saying, this product was not appropriate for me, it should not have been sold to me, it was incorrect. Or if you feel that the information you've been given is not clear, express it that way, saying, I was entitled to be given clear information that's appropriate to me, and I'm entitled to be kept informed. You have not kept me informed. Or you've treated me unfairly because you've put unreasonable barriers in my way when I wanted to submit a claim on this product. So we're hoping to start seeing, and we'll be putting out lots of communication to start driving this treating customers fairly language consistently, so that everyone understands that these are the expectations they're entitled to have of the financial services sector, and that financial services firms understand that this is what both the regulator and, more importantly, their customers expect of them.